on air.
So I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Okay, so there's so much to be grateful for. This is my first time doing a live. So all my peeps, first time. So much to be grateful for. You see this? This is a pumpkin. Thanksgiving. So I'm gonna be giving thanks all week. End out my week. Okay, so for those of you who have been following me, you have always seen me on the outside. So now I'm just having a sit down. I almost feel like the teacher in me is coming out. So I wanted to take this moment to talk to those persons who have subscribed, my tribe, to YouTube. If you're thinking about purchasing and you have any questions, or if you're thinking about moving to Florida, so I'm gonna do a little segue. So those of you who are moving to Florida, you have never been to Florida before, there's a lot of things that you can do in Florida. Keep on watching the videos. You will see different communities that we're touring, different types of homes that we're touring for different segment of the population. So that's one thing. Now, if you're thinking about moving to Florida, there are certain things that you definitely want to understand. For example, the weather is crazy. Some days it's hot, some days it's cold, some days it's rainy. So those are some things that you have to know. So Florida can be hot and Florida can be cold, and it's rainy and windy. If you're thinking about purchasing a property in Florida and you're thinking about a condo, one of the things that is surprising to people who don't live in Florida sometimes is that they have HOA, meaning a maintenance fee. And even though you are approved, or the seller is going to, like you, and they're going to sell you their property, you still have to get approval from the condo. And every condo, in most instances, they are different. They have their different requirements that you have to meet in order to finally get that key to move into your home. Even if you're purchasing cash. Can you believe that? You're buying something cash, the seller agrees to sell you that property, but you still have to go through the association. So those of you who are coming from north, you're coming from New York, New Jersey, and you're thinking about purchasing a condo, you want to make sure that you meet the requirement for the association before you even think about putting in an offer on a beautiful condo in South Florida. So those are some of the things. Also, you'll find that it is surprising to some people that there are 55 and over communities like condos in Florida, and there are some that will take, residents that are under 55. So you want to make sure you get an agent that knows the area, knows everything about South Florida or that particular community in general. Now, if you are thinking about purchasing, now you're living in Florida or not living in Florida, and you're thinking about purchasing, maybe not this year, but probably next year, and you're saying, my credit score is not all that, but I need to get there. There's still some things that you can do. There's still hope for you. There's still things that you can do to get yourself ready in time to purchase their home. For example, you will require at least a 580 credit score, right? To purchase a home using FHA financing, and at least 620 for conventional. But if you don't have the 580 as yet, there are some things that you can do as well to get you prepared. The journey is not for the swift. Sometimes it's a marathon before you get there. One of the first things that you could probably do is to see if you can get your credit report from all the three bureaus and to check to make sure that there are not any creditors that are reporting anything on the report that is not accurate. And if there's anything on your report that is not accurate, you want those to be removed. You want to start investigating to get those removed. Okay? Also, you want to think, okay, so I don't have perfect credit right now, but we all know purchasing a home requires for you to have a down payment, and it requires for you to have a closing cost. So if you don't have the down payment and the closing cost, you may want to look into alternatives to get that fund. For example, if you have identified the city that you want to live in, you may want to find out from the cities if they have grants or if they have first-time home buyer programs available to assist you. So check with each city that you want to live in and to find out when it is that they have application 2, if they have funds available. 3, what are the requirements? And 4, if there are requirements and they have the funds available, when can I start applying for those? Okay, so that's another thing that you want to take into consideration. If saving is an issue for you, here's a little recommendations that I can make. For example, you could open another account, and that account you could put that aside just to save for your down payment. And then you could do probably a direct deposit. So you don't take a debit card. You don't want to have access to that account unless it's online where you can just view it. And then you can transfer funds from, when you get your pay directly into that account and to start saving for your down payment. Another thing you could also do is that when you're purchasing a home and you are taking a loan, there are some fees that you will definitely have to save upfront for that home itself. You're gonna have to pay your inspection upfront. Yep, you gotta pay that upfront. You also have to pay for the appraisal upfront. So those are 2 fees that you're definitely gonna want to make sure that you have the cash readily available, whether from your debit card or your credit card. So you want to start saving for that. In Florida, typically you will find that the inspection fee is around $300 to $500. That's what I have seen for most of my transaction. It's on the higher end if you have like a single family home with a pool. Then you might do inspection for the pool as well. So it's on a higher end. But the appraisal is typically around $500, around that price point. So those are the 2 fees you're going to definitely have to pay, money that you have to pay before you even close the transaction. If you're living in a community where there's going to be an association fee, you will have to apply to the association. So that's another cost. And typically we're seeing between $100 to $200 for that. So out of pocket, you're looking at about $1,200 to $1,300 before you get to the closing table. Everything else will roll into the transaction, including your down payment. You may have that. So those are some tips that you can think about if you're thinking about purchasing. Start saving, open up another bank account, transfer funds into that account. Probably don't take a debit or credit card to have access to the account. And then you could also ask the seller, depending on what state you're in, depending on the market, what's going on in the market, you could ask the seller for seller's concession. Believe it or not, if you have a savvy agent, they should be able to kind of read the market and say to you, listen, this house has been on the market for a while. Maybe we can ask the sellers for seller's concession. And you never know. I've had a lot of clients. I always champion for my clients. Yes. So you have a lot of clients who are able to get the seller to pay part of their closing costs. I have a Javi that says very informal. I have some fire emoji from Jeffrey. So yes. All right. So if it is that you're thinking about purchasing, these are some of the things that you want to take into consideration. Another thing that you can do is that if you have anyone who wants to contribute towards purchasing your new home and they're going to give you cash, I would suggest that you take from them a check or have them do a direct deposit instead of taking the cash, because you want that money to be able to be traced. So once you go under contract, the lender must be able to prove where you get that funds from. If not, you want it to sit in the bank account for at least 3 months. Okay, so there are some tips. Those are some tips. Hope that they will be able to help you. If you're thinking about purchasing, there you go. If you're thinking about moving to Florida and you're thinking about purchasing a condo, you want to make sure that you do a little bit of research on the condo itself. You want to find out what are the requirements for approval from the association before you go under contract, because we don't want you to fall in love with the condo. We don't want you to do an inspection. We don't want you to do an appraisal if you're not purchasing cash, only to do to get the approval from the association or apply to the association and not be approved, because I want you to come to Sunshine, Florida. This is it. I'm Denise. Can't wait to speak to you again. Bye and be safe.